For more on this topic, I'm joined by Maurice Carney, the co-founder and executive director of the Friends of the Congo. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
This is really exciting. The first time a Chinese leader has visited Rwanda.
Yeah, and it's important to take note of that because, as you stated earlier, there's a 47-year relationship. And it's not by accident that this is the first time because context is really important. At this time, President Kagame is the chair of the African Union. So in looking at this visit, we have to look at it in a continental context, in that it's not just President of China visiting Rwanda, but visiting Rwanda because the chair of the African Union is President Kagame. That's on one level. The second level also is the regional, the East African community. The Chinese have strategic interests in the East African community. Rwanda is a part of the East African community, so building relationships that would enhance the strategic influence of China in the region in East Africa is also important. You also mentioned earlier that Rwanda is seen as a gateway to East and Central Africa. And I do a great deal of work around the Congo. And today, Rwanda is the #1 producer in the world of coltan. And so Rwanda extracts resources from the Congo that then goes to Asia and Europe. So it serves as a strategic exit for natural resources from the continent. That regional and continental context is critical for looking at this visit to Rwanda, especially after 47 years of relationship.
So President Xi has commented on what a wonderful job he actually thinks Mr. Kagame is doing, reforming the African Union. That has to play into it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the deals they signed. 15 different deals involving science, technology, aviation, mining, law. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so these deals, I disagree a little bit with President Kagame because he said this is a deal relationship among equals. But if you look at the numbers, right, we're talking about a country, Rwanda, it's just 11 million people. If you look at the Congo, for example, that's a population of Kinshasa, neighboring country. The deals come up to $300+ million in terms of the trade that Rwanda's had with China. If you look next door to the Congo, just one deal with the Congolese is worth about $8 billion that the Chinese have had. And that's about the size of the gross domestic product of Rwanda itself. So again, although the deals are looked at positively in terms of their numbers, and the visit is a positive one after Paul Kagame had visited China in 2017, the notion, however, that this is a relationship among equals is suspect, I would say.
Let's talk about the Belt and Road Initiative,
yes.
really expanding in East Africa, but now moving into West Africa with this.
Right. So again, with the Chinese president visiting Senegal, again, that's also strategic on the continental level. Because the current chair of the NEPAD, New Partnership for Development, is Macky Sall of Senegal. So that visit and dealing with Senegal also fits into the context of a continental framework. Of course, the Chinese are contributing to the building of roads in Senegal. That's also a factor. However, a larger issue, as at the risk of repeating myself, is that we see these individual relationships that are being established between the Chinese and different African countries. But what really needs to happen is for Africa to engage China on a continental level. Rwanda with...
And how do they do that?
Well, the African Union just developed the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So that framework sets a foundation for which Africa can deal with the rest of the world, including China, as a continent. If the Africans do not get to that stage where they're dealing with the Chinese, the Europeans, the US on a continental level, then they'll always be behind the 8 ball and not really be able to engage in any substantive trade deals or arrangements from a position of strength.
Is Africa getting a good deal from the Chinese?
Africa's interests at this stage is not being protected because you have these individual countries that are dealing with.
In what way are they not being protected?
Well, for example, the natural resources that are being extracted. You have the copper and the cobalt and a range of resources.
So there needs to be more regulation.
They're being not more regulation, but there's no value being added. They're being extracted in their raw form, no value being added vertically. Going to China, Chinese is developing these resources, processing them, and then selling them to the rest of the world. So Africa remains an outpost for the extraction of natural resources, not a place where you see manufacturing taking place, factories being developed that's going to employ the incredible growth that we see among young Africans. So once we get to that stage where the resources are being developed in Africa and then trade is taking place with the outside, that's when we'll see Africa get a better deal.
Maurice Carney, we're going to have to leave it there with Friends of the Congo, founder and executive director. Thank you.
Thank you.